So hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This is part 1 of What If Deku Was a Black Goku, x Jiro. Before we start, don't forget to like and subscribe to help the YouTube algorithm spread this video to more viewers. Make sure to put on your headset and enjoy the video without any interruptions. Now let's start the story. Chapter 1. Vegeta was pummeling Goku Black's body again and again. Each blow felt thunderous, perplexing the divine Scion imposter. With each hit that he received, he felt more and more pain. How could there be such a huge gap in our power? Black exasperated, feeling out of breath for the first time. The strength of Vegeta felt completely paradoxical. Black was then pulled up from his hair. That's simple, Vegeta replied, punching Black in the gut. You're an interloper, a Scion imposter, and I'm the real thing. With all his might, Vegeta threw Black away from him with the regality of a Scion prince. The almighty Prince Vegeta, roared the blue Scion, powering up with utmost fury and pride, and continued to brutalize Black once more. Black couldn't believe what he was feeling. He was actually losing. It felt like Vegeta's anger had limitless power. Power that was absolutely primal to the Scion race. Vegeta punched Black straight into a building and followed up with a gargantuan energy blast. Black's fears and confusion were erased as soon as he gave a smile. Boom! Had he been a third-rate wannabe mortal on Divine Conquest, it might have been over for Black. The Zero Mortals plan might have even been over had Black kept his original body as a mere Supreme Kai in training, but he was no normal core person. His efforts brought the end to divine hierarchy in the multiverse and saw the elimination of almost all mortal life in the infinite cosmos, and he had Son Goku to thank. Blasting through the rubble, Black immediately shot up to the air to face Vegeta once more. This time, he knew what his body needed. So anger is what fuels this body, Black observed. Such a primal, disgusting way to obtain power. The old vermin that Goku used to show him would use such barbaric methods as well. On the other hand, as Scions, Black couldn't help but notice the clear tangible results in power from Goku and Vegeta. If that's what fuels this body, then I should use my anger, Black declared. Making a violent fierce god slicer, he stabbed his other hand, focused as if he were a hyena who hasn't eaten in days. What the dash, Vegeta exclaimed with confusion. He's seen this technique used countless times. This was certainly not how he imagined it would be used. Goku Black roared, extending his hands, almost as if he was holding something. All his rage, frustration, and hatred crystallized into one weapon of justice and righteousness. With this scythe, he would become the harbinger of death to all that is unjust to this cosmos. Pointing his newly made scythe at Vegeta, Black excitedly swung at him, ecstatic about his sudden new heights of seemingly endless potential. Vegeta dodged, disappointed that what he saw was all theatrics. Suddenly, a sense of cold and fear enveloped him like never before. What the heck is that dash, Vegeta, bewildered by the tear in reality. Clones of Black suddenly appeared, with Vegeta feeling more furious than he has ever been. Black looked on, amused at this new development. Well, I'm glad you're enjoying the show, Vegeta, Black mockingly congratulated. Let's put my power to the test even more, shall we? More and more tears were ripped, spawning uncountable amounts of clones. Black kept spawning more and more of these portals, his bloodlust was unquenchable. Far away, Goku and Zamasu noticed Black's tears in reality. There seemingly had no limit to them. What the heck is he doing? Goku asked, concerned about this new power. You're fighting me, you worthless mortal, Zamasu replied, completely ignoring the question. Still, he couldn't help but notice that Goku had an actual point over the concern for this reckless usage of power. The Goku Black clones kept coming in huge waves as every clone Vegeta destroyed, several more would take its place. The continued assault of the real Goku Black did nothing to help calm the situation. How is that? Black roared with insanity. You will surely taste my divine wrath now, mortal. With each ramble about mortal life Black spewed, another reality tear would spawn from his scythe. The chaos radiating from them was unlike anything seen before in the multiverse. The nearby landscape would tear apart because of this chaos, and Black couldn't have enough of it. Zamasu's focus changed from Goku to his pink-haired counterpart. Noticing this distraction, Goku landed another mighty blow to Zamasu's face. He staggered, but looked at Black instead of the adversary facing him. You feel that too, huh? Goku said to Zamasu. As evil as a multiversal plan to slaughter all mortals was, there had to be some limits to it, right? Zamasu gave a snarled glance to Goku. It was going all so well before, what the hell was going on with him? He quickly flew to Vegeta and Goku Black's direction with Goku tailing him. With the endless stream of clones and scythe blasts, Vegeta was looking even more beat up than the first time he fought Black. But how could he fail now? How could he even take a few seconds to sleep when his son from the future was counting on him to give him a better life? As Black saw the averso-injured Vegeta, he put his efforts into one final swing until, that's enough, a familiar voice said. Zamasu confronted Black with worry and confusion. What the hell do you think you're doing? Black asked in a calm rage. What was his immortal counterpart thinking while interrupting this perfect moment? I'm glad that you seem to have adjusted to your body even better than before, Zamasu said. Do remember that while you are doing a noble act by slaying Vegeta, I believe that we would like to exterminate all mortals before rebuilding the cosmos, not outright destroying the multiverse altogether. Like hell I care about that anymore, Black shot at Zamasu, kicking him to the ground. A stunned Vegeta simply could not believe what he was seeing before his eyes. You're through, the real Goku yelled out, preparing a giant punch. Black, noticing this, caught Goku's attack and threw him to the ground. What is the meaning of this? Black exclaimed. I don't need your help, I can talk it out with him, Zamasu angrily said to Goku. Black then shot from above the sky, crushing Zamasu beneath him. I thought you wanted to make the cosmos pure and righteous, Black screamed at his partner in crime. How dare you stop me? Damn it, Zamasu yelped. You're not thinking clearly, I was merely keeping you in check dash. Perhaps the one who needs to be checked are your priorities, Black furiously declared, blasting Zamasu away. He followed him with punches that would have been lethal had it been anyone else. Did fighting Goku make you soft? Black ranted. Spend years under that dirt-loving Gawasu, teaching nonsensical things about justice as if he knew a thing about it. Black made his scimitar and started slashing at Zamasu. We are gods of this cosmos, Black preached. We don't submit to reality. Reality submits to us. With that, Black made his scythe again. Every death fuels the creation of a paradise, Black continued to tirade. My power towers above all of creation. And I refuse to let it go to waste. Why simply end mortal life when we can simply destroy the entire fabrics of reality and start anew? Goku and Vegeta suddenly instant transmission and deflected the blast that was supposed to hit Zamasu. Looks like you do need our help, Goku said to Zamasu sternly. Zamasu couldn't help but feel that Goku was actually right. Even though he had an indestructible body, that did not mean that he had infinite energy. He would have to backtrack on the Zero Mortal plans momentarily and get this matter in place before the peace he hoped for became simply a dream again. Shin and Gawasu kaikai to Goku, Vegeta, and Zamasu's location. Shin gave a senzu bean to both Goku and Vegeta with the duo being restored immediately back to full health. I am glad to see that you still have some sense of reason left, Zamasu, Gawasu would proclaim slightly proudly. Irritated, Zamasu got himself ready with his encounter with the rose-colored scion. We'll send you to oblivion some other time, Zamasu, Vegeta declared. For now, we have a whole other problem to deal with. Black stared down at the group with anger few gods have ever felt. More justification to his new ultimatum. Launching another scythe blast, the group dodged it with Goku and Vegeta leading an assault. Taking to the skies once more, it was clear how much of a Zenkai boost Black received from all of his fighting. His speed and power was truly insurmountable now. Black gave his signature melee energy sword attacks to both Goku and Vegeta, who were still giving their typical punches and kicks in their blue forms. As Black swung again, suddenly, something latched onto him. You! Black snarled. Zamasu locked Black by both his shoulders, giving Goku and Vegeta time to give even more damaging attacks. Black spat out blood from the impact of the duo. Let's do this, Vegeta, Goku said. I'm way ahead of you, Vegeta replied. Gallic dash, Kamehame dash, ha-ah-ah-ah-ah-ah. The blast connected and hit Black held on by Zamasu, emanating for miles and miles. Don't let your guard down, Kakarot, Vegeta said. As the smoke settled, Black's figure started to be visible. Bruised, battered, and beaten up like never before, he still maintained his rose form. Zamasu looked at Black with disbelief. If you had this sort of power earlier, maybe we would have eradicated these mortals and created an actual utopia much sooner, Zamasu remarked. Says the traitorous scum siding with them, Black replied. Powering up, Black made yet another scythe, slashing madly in all directions. It's happening again, Vegeta observed. An army of clones piled up onto the field. Not only were these tiers stronger than the ones Black made to adjust to this power, but reality started to disform. It was a chaotic show with the clones attacking Goku, Vegeta, and Zamasu. Now what is there to stop me once I finish creating my Grandu dash? One of the clones kicked the real Goku Black squarely in the chest. Confused and even more enraged, Black's temper went even more off. How dare you disobey your creator, Black shrieked. The clones attacked everything indiscriminately, making Black occupied. Now's our chance, let's go, Zamasu ordered. Yeah, Goku agreed. Let's go again, Vegeta. I know, clown, Vegeta replied. Final dash, Kamehame dash, divine dash, they all screamed in unison. The distracted Black got hit right on with this incredible assault. Black was pushed away from them, with no control over his direction. No, Black screamed in horror and agony as he felt his body start to tear up from this effort. Seeing that he was being launched into one of the tiers he created, he felt more afraid than the Zamasu who got Hokkai'd. Inside the tear, he found himself in a void of magenta and pink. The swirl of reality shifting absolutely overwhelmed Black in his state. He had to go back to base form. He lost all his allies, the utopia he was making probably would not come into fruition, and he was experiencing unspeakable things. Feeling like he was repeatedly submerged underwater and brought back to the surface for a moment, for the first time in his life, Black wanted the suffering to go away. As all hope was lost, suddenly, a tier opened up to a forest, similar in style to the one he and Zamasu used to own. Black landed with a thud. Before he could even utter a word in this new location, Black passed out. Looks like the patient is waking up, doctor, a brunette woman said. Ah, thank you, Nurse Daisy, the short, pudgy-looking doctor replied. Black stared at his surroundings. He was asleep in a hospital? For mortals? Rage fueled his mind, but he couldn't help but notice how different his power felt. Nevertheless, mortal life was mortal life, regardless of where he was. Everything in the room flew with great force, knocking the middle-aged doctor off the floor. Before he could get back onto his feet, Black pinned him on a wall and interrogated him. Answer me well now, mortal, Black yelled. Where am I? Why you are I in a central hospital, sir, the poor doctor yelped. The patient was in quite a bad state when he was found, so perhaps this was just normal. Black did not like this answer and punched the doctor. It was a hard punch, clearly, but not to the effect he had hoped. And what happened to my body? Black further pressed. Well, we found your body in a forest in terrible shape, the doctor answered. We restored your body to, a better state of health. Black threw the doctor to the bed, getting his usual robes that were left nearby. As a reward, I'll spare you for now, mortal, Black decreed. Just know that I allow you to run. With superhuman speed, Black changed from his scrubs to his usual robes. A shame that mortals had to touch my divine clothes and body. But there is clearly something off about me, so I suppose I'll treat this as a sign of them knowing to bow before those superior to them. Putting on his signature time ring and patera, Black stormed out of the hospital with impeccable speed and onto the streets. Passers-by were in awe of this man who could seemingly go on par with their greatest hero, even more so when Black started flying away. What's going on? Black wondered, confused at the sudden limits his body had. Why is everything about me so weak all of the sudden? Although his power was comparatively impressive compared to the planet's inhabitants, it was a far cry from his usual might. By sensing energy around him, he could deduce that everyone was clearly significantly weaker than he, Goku, and Vegeta are. While it was still slightly more than the humans in his universe, the energy around him was practically negligible, so he wasn't too concerned that someone could even make a dent on him. The Scion landed on the side of a road with a sign next to it saying Muzutafu. Although he would have loved to destroy the town on spot, his intuition on his sudden power limits told him otherwise. Walking around the town, Black felt increasingly repulsed at the mortal infrastructure. There was an odd glorification of people in weird costumes, such as a muscular blonde man in red, white, and blue, a girl with rabbit ears, and an angry-looking fire person. As if the Earth in his universe wasn't ugly enough, somehow this universe's Earth completely upped the ante. There were humans with cacti for heads, some with long necks, others with asymmetrical body parts, and much more. This would be a good enough reason for the gods of destruction to destroy a world. Black walked into a cozy little tea shop. If there was anything that the damn Son Goku did that was good, it was to introduce him and Gawasu to some green tea. Hi, welcome to Muzutafu Tea Shop, a furry rabbit-looking woman greeted. How can we help you today? Black grunted and didn't even look, leaving her hanging awkwardly for a short moment. He grabbed a jar of tea leaves and inspected them. Oh dear, what happened to the Gold Tips Imperial? A tall girl with long, spiky hair asked. Terribly sorry, miss, but it seems like our shipment has gone missing, a similar furry rabbit-looking clerk replied. I've been waiting for a while for our suppliers to reply, but it's been silent for so long. Don't worry, I'll be patient, the girl replied. I guess that'll be some tea to get my hands on sometime. Finding a jar of green tea leaves, Black went up to the counter. That'll be 4,600 yen, sir, the clerk said. No, excuse me, the clerk replied. Black came back to his senses. Even though he was still much stronger than everyone else, he can't play as recklessly as he did before. Destroying a planet as he was now would actually be difficult. He reasoned that was going to outlive these mortals anyway, so he'll bite his tongue and play safe and slow for now. I'm sorry, Black apologized, holding back murderous thoughts, still keeping his serious expression. Force of habit. But sorry, I'm new here. I haven't got a clue as to the money around these parts. Don't worry, sir, the clerk reassured. The currency we use is the yen, however, you would have to forfeit the tea if you don't have the money to buy it. Black grimaced at the clerk, who had a neutral expression but clearly felt fear. Fine. Have another day being alive, Black said, leaving the shop. Okay, the clerk responded in confusion. Black stepped out of the shop and walked a few feet past the door and squatted below its windows. Why not just kill all of these mortals right here and now? Do I really need my original strength to even do that? Screamed a familiar girl's voice. Curious, Black rushed over to the scream's direction. He saw that same girl from before with what seemed to be gang members. Get off of me, the girl squealed in dismay. Oh, you're a frisky one, aren't you? A large, round, gray-looking guy remarked with hunger. Hear that the Yaoyorozus are quite wealthy, so why don't you give us some of that dough? Another thug chimed in. This Yaoyorozu girl closed her eyes with tears running through them. She was going to be assaulted. Black saw this happen and felt furious yet joyful. Finally, a real justification to kill a few mortals. But also, such actions would have no place in the utopia he wanted. Cleansing had to happen. As the large thug touched the Yaoyorozu girl's hair, a huge gust of wind hit him and his partner to the side of their heads, knocking them several meters away. The divine Scion imposter glared at them, inflicting fear immediately. Who the heck are you? One of the thugs asked. There is no way that this is All Might himself, right? I am here to cleanse this world, Black replied. Your antics have no value for the paradise that I envision. Firing off 2 energy blasts, a massive explosion was formed, severely injuring the two. God, why couldn't it have been All Might? The larger thug whimpered. The hell? Those two should be in Otherworld by now, Black thought, concerned for his seemingly waning strength. A crowd of bystanders suddenly appeared, wanting to get in on the commotion. Is everything alright, miss? A skinny, gray-haired man asked the girl. Yes, it's alright, that man saved me, Yaoyorozu replied, although a bit more shaken from the raw power she just witnessed. The Scion felt the eyes of many staring at him. Soon, dozens of police cars were arriving on scene, asking the general public to calm down. Damn, we've lost the loony and Clooney thieves, the cat-looking officer said with dismay, holding a paper with their information. The thieves looked exactly like the ones lying before Black. Excuse me, sirs, Yaoyorozu said to them. But those villains are actually right there, thanks to this gentleman. The officers looked at Goku Black, thinking nothing of him besides his villainous scowl. Out of context, it would seem like he was a villain harassing two civilians. Well, sir, we would like to thank you for your service, the cat-looking officer said, bowing. We would usually take unauthorized quirk use in for questioning, but it seems like the reasoning was legitimate enough. Have a good day. The officers left the scene with Looney and Clooney in handcuffs. The Scion couldn't help but feel that it was a half-assed thank you, but it's barely much in the grand scheme of things. There was more murmuring amongst the crowd until Black made an even angrier scowl, scaring the crowd away. Give me one moment, sir, Yaoyorozu said to the man she was with. The man agreed. Thank you so much for your help there. Yaoyorozu said, bowing. Please let me know anything you need, as I owe you greatly. Black wasn't exactly sure how to respond to this request. If he couldn't use the brute force approach, he would have to use diplomacy. Remembering how to pull off his old Supreme Kai and training mannerisms, Black decided on a response. Something nice to put tea in would be great, I guess. Oh, let me whip one out right now, Yaoyorozu responded. Black stared confused but was a bit surprised to see that an actual tea set came out of her body to, in mortal standards, pristine condition. Wait, how are you doing that? Black inquired. Creation like that is a power the Kais have. Could I have underestimated mortals here? Oh, it's nothing really, the girl replied. It's just what my quirk allows me to do. Quirk. Didn't that officer say something about that word too? What's a quirk? Black asked. The girl looked in shock. A man such as him had no idea what a quirk was? Well, in layman's terms, a superpower, the girl explained. A unique, superhuman ability that most people possess. Mine happens to let me create non-living matter. That might be useful for me down the line, Black thought. It may be shameful, but perhaps my immortal counterpart had the right idea with mortal assistance. Alright, that's nice to know, Black said. Oh, perhaps you think of the old term meta-ability instead, the girl said in the midst of her rigorous explanation of quirks. Ah yes, that's exactly why, Black lied and chuckled slightly. He had to distract from the fact he was an omnicidal deity plotting for everyone's death. Thought that would be the case, the girl said. Oh, what's your name? I'm Goku, the Scion responded. He felt memories of a particular blue half-Scion who would shudder at those words. Great, I'm Momo Yaoyorozu, it's a pleasure to meet you, she replied. You're extremely powerful. And yet, you're not a hero? A hero? Black asked. So humans have those as a profession here? Oh, like All Might, Endeavor, and Hawks, the girl asked, becoming increasingly more surprised at the man's lack of common knowledge. Those do seem like names people around here like talking about. Perhaps that's why these strange costumed people are idolized? Oh, right, how could I forget? Black lied once more. Seems like I'll have to do quite a lot of research if I want to enact Project Zero Mortals once more. Well, in any case, thank you once again for the help, the girl said, leaving to her attendant. The Scion looked, holding his new tea set. That was a bizarre turn of events, but I suppose I could enjoy some tea. Black walked back to where he was, seeing the clerk from earlier sweeping the doorfront. Oh, you must be that gentleman from before, the clerk said happily. The whole town knows about what you did. Did they, now? Black asked. What was going on here? That Looney and Clooney duo were truly some of the absolute worst we have ever seen in our town, the clerk replied. Business has been terrible because of them, but now we can make a recovery. Thank you for your service. Alright then, Black replied, not knowing how to continue the conversation. Oh, by the way, that's a nice tea set, the clerk said. I'll give you some of that tea from earlier and it's on the house. Thank you for your generosity, old scum, Black spat. Pardon? Thank you for your generosity, old chum, Black retorted in an attempt to hide his hate. No worries, hope to see you again, the clerk said. Getting his tea put the deity in a more tolerable mood, letting him remember not to kill the mortals on sight this time around. Gazing to the skies, Black found his new focus. I will clean this cosmos as I have with others. As soon as I figure out the ins and outs of this universe, nothing will stand in my way for perfect paradise. The Scion walked around Mizurufu, clutching his tea supplies in hand. Thoughts were swarming his head about his encounter with the villains, police force, and the girl. So a society where everyone is superhuman, huh? Black thought. These mortals may prove to be more of a challenge than I had thought. Black shook his head, feeling conflicted at this sign of mercy he showed to mortal life. Perhaps I can start off with other worlds, there shouldn't be much to stop me anyway. Placing 2 fingers on his forehead, he scoured across the universe, searching for any signs of life beyond this version of Earth he was on. Concentrating hard, Black's eyes widened with disbelief. Impossible. Not only is this the only planet with any mortal life, but the gods are non-existent too? Black yelled out loud, attracting the attention of nearby people. Realizing his blunder, Black cleared his throat. Apologies, minor headache, he lied. The public didn't quite seem to buy into this lie, but they didn't seem to care enough to stop the Scion from doing whatever he was doing. This is problematic, Black thought. It seems that while I have a divine body with limitless power, my power is restricted to barely even a fraction of my original strength. If I want Project Zero Mortals to prevail, I will have to do the unthinkable. Black continued to walk and found himself in front of the Mizurufu Public Library. Don't mortals in Trunks' timeline use these for knowledge? He ventured in, keeping his usual scowl to mortal kind. It was an average-looking library of a small town with neatly sorted books on bookshelves. Finding books about quirk biology, world history, and astronomy, Black sought to learn everything about this new, strange universe. Finding an empty table to sit at close to back of the room, Black read each of these books vigorously. Thanks to his studies during his time as a Kai, these books were trivial but offered many answers he needed. Although he now had a much better understanding of quirks, superhuman history, and the new universe, his mind hungered for more information. Conveniently for him, he saw a staircase leading up to the computer lab just a few feet to his left. Those machines seemed to be popular to mortal kind, Black thought, remembering the blasphemous time machine used to thwart him multiple times. He walked up, found an empty seat and sat in front of a blank screen. "All right, turn on," Black ordered, realizing his lack of understanding for mortal technology. This clearly did not work and garnered a few snickers from people around him. Holding in his rage, Black slammed his fist onto the table, irritated at being subject to mockery. "Is everything all right?" a tall, toned man with blonde hair asked. "I don't understand why this damn thing won't work," Black responded, even more irritated. "Ah, don't worry about it. Here, let me help you out," the man offered. The man helped the scion turn on the computer with ease. Black was sure to watch his every move, remembering how to do it himself. "All right, thanks," Black said. "Now what?" "Sir, have you ever used a computer before?" the man asked. Although he was still very willing to help, he couldn't believe that there were still people completely unaware of how to use these machines. What now?" "Ah, Togata, this is gonna be a long one." The man smiled and started to explain. "Well, a computer is what this machine is called," the man explained with slight enthusiasm. "You can use the internet and find lots of things such as connecting with your friends, information, and dash." "Information," Black immediately said. "How do I find information?" "Well, you can click on this icon here using that mouse on your right," the man replied. "That's called a browser. Open it and you can search whatever words you want with it." The scion moved the mouse, still getting used to the movements. The man laughed and gave further instructions on how to use the mouse properly. After about a minute of tinkering, Black finally clicked the browser. "And there you have it," the man said. "You finally got your browser opened. Feel free to type whatever you want in that search bar." Black stared at the keys, still clearly confused. The blonde man gave another loud laugh and told him how to use the keyboard. After some experimenting, the scion was able to search up keys. "Congrats, dude," the man cheered. "I guess we could call that a key to success." Black felt more and more irritated at the loudness of him, plotting ways to end him on spot. These thoughts were put to bay when a librarian walked by to keep the blonde man quiet, giving Black a slight smirk. "Well, just let me know if you need more help, dude," the man said. What a weird nuisance, Black thought. Thinking of something real to search up, Black decided to research more on heroes and villains, still unsure of the two concepts. In his findings, he found something interesting: the hero billboard charts JP, All Might, Endeavor, Hawks, Best Genist, Edge Shot. Seeing this information, Black gave a dastardly grin. Although confident, he was more excited to finally have potential foes who can give him a challenge in his weakened state. No matter how strong he was, he knew his body craved battle. But how would he be able to even challenge them? Although villainy was tempting, his pride would hate for him to actually be classified with such a group. Remembering the thieves he stopped, the scion decided that he would not compromise Project Zero mortals to such a low standard. Closing the browser window, Black realized that he had no idea how to turn it off. Looking at the man from earlier, who was happily reading manga, Black called for him. "Hey boy," Black said, very gruffly. "Whoa," the man said, still laughing. "Could have just called me Mirio." With that, Mirio helped him to turn off the computer. Curious, the man spoke to the scion. "So, where you from?" Mirio asked, curious about this seemingly foreign person. "Why should I answer you?" the scion replied, feeling more annoyed with these questions. "Ouch, dude," Mirio replied, still smiling. "My mentor always said that laughter is the best medicine. You'd be great if you smiled more." Black gave a grunt in response. "Well, if you have nothing more to say, I'll be taking my leave," the scion said, leaving the building. What an unusual world and what unusual people, Black thought. Now that he had a much better idea of the world surrounding him, he was feeling continually bothered at how much weaker he seemed, even though at the same time, he felt completely fine. Such a loathsome oxymoron. Black would have to test his powers out to see how much weaker he has gotten and how it happened. Heading out of the library, Black went into a secluded alleyway. Still with his tea supplies in hand, he then started to fly to an area that he was sure would have no witnesses. As much as he would like to rampage the town there, his intuition told him that sort of mindset was how he got to this point in the first place. Seeing mortals beg for their lives was delightful, but he had priorities. He was getting noticeably exhausted much faster than he ever had before. He'd have to stop somewhere soon. Finding some woods to practice in this evidently new world, Black placed the tea down and gave himself a moment to rest before trying to power up in an attempt to use Super Saiyan Rose. A wild aura was arising and he felt his hair standing up, even with a slight hue of pink. But alas, it was no use. The scion felt even more exhausted than before, giving himself an even bigger break. Frustrated, Black decided to practice his melee attacks by demolishing the trees of the woods he was in. He prepared a punch, unleashing a massive gust of wind in front of him. Although it would have been record-breaking for anyone else in the planet he was on, it was a far cry from what he used to be able to do. Testing out his blast attacks, he fired them off into the sky and watched them fall onto the surroundings in him. The damage was absolutely catastrophic, but the scion remained completely unharmed. Black made sense of this result. I see, Black thought. This body hasn't actually gotten weaker at all. All the potential and powers I had are still here, simply locked away from me. My guess is from that tear in reality I was forced into. This was both good and bad news to him. From this, he was sure that literally nothing could kill him from this universe, as his goal is to rediscover power instead of regaining it. On the other hand, he knew for certain that cleansing even this solar system would be absolute fantasy for now. He couldn't even come anywhere close to circumnavigating the planet, let alone killing a man in one strike. Staring out into the once glorious woods that he used as a test subject, Black further made up his mind. Project Zero mortals will prevail, Black decreed. And it begins with me studying this body once more. Remembering the hero billboard charts JP, Black gave out a crooked, unsettling laugh. For he was a breed apart, and divine, evil will be vanquished no matter how long it took. The sun rose for the first time in Goku Black's misanthropic reality displacement. Still feeling groggy, the scion woke up from his slumber. He had completely failed to consider his shelter situation, as he was accustomed to the wooden cabin he and Zamasu had. The cave and haystack he found in the training woods overnight were not the worst things in the world, but his situation could be much better. To make matters worse, his exquisite robes were all dirted up. Annoyed, Black detonated the cave and flew up towards the newly lit blue skies. At least he still had his tea, even if the tea set was a bit filthy. The situation was becoming dire for Project Zero mortals. Having to rediscover all his locked powers was already an arduous task on its own, but Black completely failed to consider one of a scion's most valuable commodities, rest. Black then closed his eyes, looking for answers to his new pseudo-mortal life. Come to think of it, it's impossible for Goku and Vegeta to fight at all times, Black thought. The scion body, with as much power it contained, still had anatomical limits. Vegeta, being married into the wealthiest family on Earth, had no need to worry about a quality place to stay. For Goku, as Black understood, still had a cozy place where he was comfortable with his wife and child. Much like how this body craves for battle, it craves for proper care and maintenance as well, the scion deduced. Black opened his eyes, with a much better focus and understanding. Getting a place to rest would lead to more opportunities to get power that will be used to fuel Project Zero mortals. This reasoning seemed logical enough to quell some of the scion's frustrations. But where would he even get a home? There were definitely not enough trees and resources to reconstruct the cabin he was used to. He was going to have to revisit the library again. Remembering to get his tea, Black exercised his telekinetic powers to retrieve them, satisfied he could still pull it off even if it was not as easy as before. Placing 2 fingers on his forehead, Black found the same alleyway he used to leave the town yesterday. In less than a moment, Black arrived just as expected and made his way to the library once more. Making his way to the computer lab, the scion turned on the computer like how that Mirio did. Fortunately this time, there would be no mortal making horrible jokes next to him. Opening the browser, he searched for how to get a home. To his surprise, he found that the process was significantly more challenging than he anticipated. There were thousands of websites telling him about the process, all of which had very different details. As if that wasn't enough, even the cheapest apartment was significantly higher than the 4,600 yen green tea he had, which he thought was already expensive. Now how do I earn money? Black demanded, slamming his fist to the computer table again. Once again, there was laughter adjacent to him. Mama, why does he not know how to earn money? A small child nearby asked, pointing his finger at the scion. Does he not have a job? I don't know, but look at him, his mother began to explain. Looking at how he acts and how tattered his clothes are, he clearly did not make the most of himself in life. If you study hard, you won't end up like him. Black stared at the two in furious disbelief, even though the two had no idea of his thoughts. To be seen so lowly by mortals. The scion had never seen such a blasphemous attack against him before, not even when he first saw Super Saiyan Blue Goku on GodTube. Blood boiling, Black stared at his computer screen again, remembering his overarching plans for Project Zero mortals. The boy said something about jobs, Black reflected. Those did seem to be things that people in his old universe had. Making another search, Black began his job hunt. Somehow the job hunt looked even harder than the hunt for a home. There were uncountable amounts of jobs, which all had qualifications Black had no way of obtaining. Scrolling more and more, Black finally found a job requiring no qualifications. Hopper's Cafe in East Narahata, Black thought. A job posting for a dishwasher at 650 yen an hour for a popular cat cafe would usually not interest him in the slightest. However, weighing all of his other options, Black sighed and accepted that this would be his only chance at employment. This is absolutely embarrassing for a god. Through gritted teeth, Black made his last search for directions to East Narahata from the library. Memorizing the map, he turned off the computer and headed out, tea in hand of course. After heading back into the secluded alleyway, Black shot up in the air and flew towards the cafe at breakneck speed. Oi, Ichiro, Jiro Hata called out to his twin, stunned at the scene he was viewing outside the window. You're not gonna believe this. Here I forgot to address that I'll be writing Kyoka Jiro as Jiro and Jiro Hata as Jiro. I believe Jiro and Jiro are interchangeable in English, but for clarification's sake, I'll be using them differently depending on the person. A giant, serpentine villain was in the town, making a huge path of destruction in its path. The destruction looked absolutely indiscriminate. No man, woman, or child was safe from its wrath. Jiro Hata looked at the scene, although with a more decided look. This wasn't the first time Naruhata had a villain attack, especially as many of their own employees were once villains themselves. Nevertheless, with the crawler gone, he knew that people like him had to protect the town in place of the vigilante gone hero abroad. We fight back, duh, Ichiro announced with his usual eloquent rhetoric. Let's transform and get this guy done with. Jiro nodded and stopped mindlessly staring at the window. The two twins grew new features until they resembled nothing but gigantic grasshoppers. Leaving the cafe, the two taunted the villain. You messed with the wrong city, fool. Ichiro yelled, preparing an all-out fistfight. Hata kick. Jiro screamed, landing a massive kick on the serpent's spine. Much to the Hata's misfortune, the red serpent simply shrugged the injuries off. Giving yet another massive roar, this time, it gave its undivided attention to the grasshopper brothers. Oh crap, what do we do now? Jiro wondered, feeling uneasy by the villain. No idea, but we're still gonna have to fight. Ichiro answered with a hint of uncertainty in his voice. If only Takobi or Kamachi were here today. Guess they earned their time off though. Suddenly, from the air, a loud whoosh sound descended upon the Naruhata residence and onto the serpent's head. Goku Black appeared before them, defeating the serpentine villain with one swift, powerful blow. The Scion felt absolute disgust at having to land on top of such a terrible creature as well as share the world with insect people like the two in front of him. Wow, you did great there. Jiro congratulated, having never seen such power before. It's like All Might himself trained you, dude. Ichiro added on, giving praise he's rarely ever given. Black ignored their praise, still fixated on his goal in mind. Where's Hopper's Cafe? Black asked. Oh, it's right down the corner, Jiro replied. We're the owners, actually. The two brothers reverted back to their human forms to properly greet the Scion. I'm Ichiro Hata and this is my twin brother, Jiro, Ichiro explained. Pleasure to meet you. He extended his arm for a handshake. Noticing Black's discomfort, he put his hand back. And I'm Goku, the Scion responded. So, what's interested you here out in Naruhata? Jiro asked. Would you like to get a drink from our cafe? I believe that your cafe was open to employment, the Scion responded. He was holding himself back from not annihilating the town on spot. A dishwasher position, if I was not mistaken. The Hata brothers couldn't believe what they were hearing. A man as powerful as this just wanted to have a job as a mere dishwasher? You're hired, Ichiro said immediately. Black looked back, confused, angry, and a bit relieved. Well, that was far easier than I thought. We can get you started if you're not busy right now, Jiro offered. Yes, I would like to commence with my work as soon as I can, Black replied, satisfied that things were going into motion the way he wanted. The trio walked to the cafe, where the Scion was shown around the premises. By human standards, it was a spacious cafe with plenty of room for man and feline alike. What a ridiculous business premise, was all Black could think of upon exploring the place. So here's our kitchen, Jiro explained, pointing to a large room full of many plates, cooking utensils, and sinks. As a dishwasher, you'll be doing your work over there. He pointed to a corner of the room with a kitchen sink. That's where the dishes will be done, Ichiro said. Got any questions? Black took a moment to think. The job sounded easy enough. If it would help him get the money he needed, he supposed that he would cooperate for now. I'll be good, thank you, Black replied. Great, Ichiro said. So the pay will be 650 yen an hour, 8 hours from Monday to Friday, and meals will be free. We don't really have much to do today other than clean up after that snake guy made a mess, but you can go off and come back tomorrow for work. The Scion kept his usual scowl, unsure of what he could do. He could try to hunt for those top heroes right away, but without a real place to rest, his body would give out at some point. He then voiced his concern. I'm still quite new here, Black explained. I don't really have a home to stay in. The Hata brothers looked at each other and nodded. There was something they could pull off. Well, we got some room in our basement, Jiro offered. You could stay down there until you have enough to move out. The Scion's ears perked at the sound of this offer. Even if it was filthier than his old cabin, it had to be more comfortable than sleeping outdoors. Alright, let's see how it is, Black replied, feeling more relieved that his plan was moving smoother than he had anticipated. The trio walked down to the basement and turned on the lights. It was full of various other supplies for the business such as new plates, food ingredients, and cat toys. The brothers took Black all the way to the back of the basement to a door. Unlocking the door, the brothers introduced Black to his new living quarters. And there we go, Jiro said. You got a place to live now. In front of them was a small, empty room. While more promising than the cave, it didn't seem to provide everything needed in a home. Ichiro thought, inspecting Black's tattered look. While we could always get some furniture here, what are we gonna do about cleaning him up? Well, there's a swimming pool pretty close by, Jiro responded. He could shower there by the lockers. There's also a laundromat right next to it so he could get his clothes done there too. This will be fine, thank you, Black said through gritted teeth, still trying to use his politeness from his time as Gawasu's apprentice. No worries, Ichiro said. We'll let you out of your hair. You can come up to use the bathroom, and you can also use a large cat bed for now. Enjoy your stay. Black followed the two back up the stairs, feeling extremely unstimulated from the lack of activities to do. As the trio arrived back into the main room of the cafe, the door opened. Business is doing well, the man said sarcastically. He was a very unkempt man, wearing black that matched his long, black hair and a gray scarf. Aizawa. Ichiro eagerly said. Long time no see, man, we're kinda doing maintenance at the moment. Jiro chimed in. So, how's teaching at UA? Ichiro asked. Oh, well, it's alright, I suppose, Aizawa replied. There are times where I feel like I would rather fight some villains, though. The admissions exam is coming soon up, so I guess I'll see if I'll have to expel the new class the day they get on campus. Ichiro gave a hearty laugh, happy that his old friend is acting as cold as always. The two sat down at a table. Hey Goku, why don't you make him some coffee? Ichiro said. Ichiro, he's new. Jiro said, wanting to save a bit of face. Oh, alright, how about you? Ichiro said to Jiro. Oh, alright, fine, Jiro replied with slight annoyance. Actually, Goku, why don't you join us with our little chat? Ichiro offered. Goku Black walked to the square table and sat with Aizawa to his left and Ichiro to his right. So this is our new dishwasher, Goku, Ichiro explained. And Goku, this is Shota Aizawa, UA teacher and pro hero, Eraserhead. A hero, huh, Black thought, having unexpectedly come across a treasure trove of resources. I don't remember seeing him anywhere in my research, but perhaps he could be of some use to me, even if it's only for a moment. A pleasure to meet for your acquaintance, Black introduced, still using false politeness. Aizawa just nodded, accepting the introduction. Ichiro carried the conversation on. You know that snake guy who just popped up, he explained. Well, this Goku guy just popped up from the sky and practically flattened him. It was incredible. Ah, that was why I was sent here, actually, Aizawa replied, getting more curious about Black. Luckily, the police sent adequate forces this time, so there wasn't much that I needed to do. Black muttered out loud. He saw something about that with all might and endeavor, but he couldn't remember what was so significant about it. Oh, you got something to say about UA, Goku? Ichiro asked Black, enjoying the conversation. Yeah, I do, Black responded. What is UA? Ichiro fell back in his chair in comical fashion and Aizawa widened his eyes by a small amount. UA was practically common knowledge and he didn't know what it was? UA is a secondary school in Mizurufu, Aizawa started to explain, ignoring Ichiro clumsily getting back in his chair. I happen to teach the hero course. Yeah, dude, how do you now know this? Ichiro asked, still surprised. It's like the best hero school out there. The best, huh, Black thought. I knew those UA letters felt familiar. All Might and Endeavor went to this school. The Scion sought more information about this UA school. And what do these students learn in that course? Black asked, yearning for more knowledge. In 3 years' time, our students are expected to have gained enough insight to perform activities expected of a pro, the teacher responded, still in disbelief at the situation he was in now. Students are prepared for anything ranging from combat, support, and rescue, just to name a few things. So what do they do for combat? Black asked, his body itching for a decent fight. Hey, you're kinda into this fight business, Ichiro said to Black. What are you trying to do, go toe-to-toe with a pro? He laughed and slapped the Scion's back, much to his awkwardness. In any case, students are to further develop their quirks and use them when the situation arises, Aizawa said, noting Black's curiosity into combat. Our students are very resilient and will put a stop to whatever is seen as a threat. Whatever is seen as a threat, huh, Black thought amidst his inner cackling for Project Zero mortals and his divine powers. These mortals really are as naive as they are stupid. I see, Black said, smiling and closing his eyes. Thank you very much for this valuable information. Alright, I brought the coffee right here. Jiro said, with 2 cups of coffee in his hands. He gave one to Aizawa and Ichiro, leaving Black empty-handed. Ah, sorry Goku, the brewer said. I'll get you some now. No need, the Scion replied, with actual politeness this time. I still got my tea leaves. Oh, alright, Jiro said, joining in on the chat. The group chatted about various miscellaneous things, such as their old escapades against this apparently monstrous number 6 as well as the crawler/crawler. Black kept silent throughout it all. Well, in any case, it's getting a bit late now, so I'll go back on patrol, Aizawa said. Nice catching up here. Come back anytime, the brothers said in unison. Black looked at him, with a new interest in heroes. Well, I suppose there will be nice appetizers before I commence with the main course. 2 weeks have passed since Goku Black stumbled across this new earth, feeling nothing but hidden resentment towards this world he was more accustomed to. His job at Hopper's Cafe, while not particularly difficult, was not one with great flexibility. However, his living quarters were looking up as he stylized the room in a very traditional Japanese manner, which seemed to be the style most similar to the Kais. He wasn't allowed to wear his usual black robes for work, instead replacing it with a black t-shirt and black jeans alongside his pot era and time ring. Black was glad that he was a Scion, for dishwashing was a trivial task with his speed, albeit a long, boring one. Hey, Goku! Kamayan called, giant mantis body taking up a good portion of the kitchen. Need ya here for a sec? Black finished scrubbing the plate he was cleaning and headed to the former instant villain. Hear that you got a really good flying quirk, Kamayan remarked. And that you've been around the block in Mizurufu. The Scion nodded, keeping his usual scowl. Anything that you'd like me to do? The Scion inquired, believing that his job only required dishwashing. Yeah, I do, the mantis replied. Got this order of desserts that just popped up from this family. They're finished, fresh, and delicious, but they expect it there within the hour. Which is practically impossible for us besides you. The Scion groaned lightly at this, having to frustratingly take out responsibilities beyond what was usually expected of him. Don't worry, Kamayan said, noticing the annoyance from Black. You'll be paid extra for this on top of your shift. Black sighed in acceptance, took the desserts, and went outside. He considered using instant transmission but decided against it. The Scion body isn't made because it took the easy way out of things all the time, after all. He then soared towards Mizutofu, with his key protecting the desserts from getting scrambled mid-flight. After 15 minutes, he landed just outside of an apartment complex. There was nothing too special about it as it looked like a block with windows to black. He walked up the stairs and to the floor he needed to go to. Number two, Black muttered out loud, annoyed that he was now a delivery boy on top of his original duties. Well, I suppose the extra pay is promise dash. The Scion shook his head rapidly, in disbelief at what he just said. He didn't feel furious about being used by a mortal just now. Just what was going on? Was he actually feeling attachment to his mortal life? This money he was getting was supposed to be used for something, right? Flabbergasted and jaw-dropped, Black returned to his senses and tried to think it out. No, the Scion reasoned, eyes closed and taking deep breaths. This is all for Project Zero mortals. Even if it moves at a glacial pace, it is still progress for my grand utopia. The Scion then reached door number 2 and rang the doorbell. He was then greeted by a plump, short, green-haired woman. Who might you be? The woman inquired. Are you Inko Midoriya? Black asked with a sharp, deep stare that made the woman step back a little. Yes? Inko replied, feeling a bit nervous at Black. These are the desserts that you ordered from Hopper's Cafe, Black said, giving her the food. I was sent here to give them. Oh, that's what it's about. Inko said, feeling relieved. I know I said I wanted it within the hour, but then I realized that the distance from Naruhata and Mizutofu was like 2 hours by car and I dash. The woman kept blabbing about menial things, which really tested the Scion's patience. He considered just blowing the apartment on spot only to remember that thanks to his locked powers, it would only be a temporary solution. Something told him that he would get an earful from that disgusting mantis if he just flew off mid-conversation, so he just stayed put, pretending to care about the ramblings. And my son got into UA and I was like, Isuko, congratulations. Inko continued, forgetting that Black was still there. It was such a surprise to me because he was quirkless for so long, but then suddenly he got one. A UA incoming student? Black thought, suddenly getting interested in the conversation. What are the odds? Congratulations, Black said, with a smile. What quirk does he have? Oh, I'm not sure actually. Inko replied. I just hope he's careful though. Apparently he broke a bone using it, but it also blew up this huge robot. How pitiful, Black thought, feeling this was a mediocre power. Or, is this some variation of that Kaioken technique Goku used to use? And on that note, why did I never use the Kaioken? The power is quite great once the self-damage is controlled. Black's eyes widened at a sudden realization. Even if the boy's quirk was mediocre for now, it still boasted an extremely impressive feat by these human standards. If going to school would make quirk usage better as Aizawa promised, the boy was sure to be among the best heroes out there. I'm sure that he'll learn to manage it at UA, Black reassured. This rival seemed to be quite promising in comparison to the other heroes in this universe. Well, I hope so, Inko said, looking at a clock nearby. Oh my, I've kept you on for so long. My son is supposed to be back sometime by now. I can help you out, Black offered. What school does he go to? Well, Inko said, hesitating. With all due respect, it would be a bit awkward to ask some stranger I just met to care for my only son. The audacity. The Scion's pride wanted to prove that he was the man for the job. The Scion's body, on the other hand, wanted to see what this prospective student was like for now. Ms. Midoriya, the Scion said, beginning his offer. I'll help you track your son down back to you right now. If you don't hear from me by nightfall, you may report me to the authorities and my employers at the cafe. The woman was surprised at this stranger's eagerness. Still a bit nervous, she eventually gave in. Well, alright sir, she said. Here's a picture of him. He looks a lot like me and has curly green hair. He goes to Eldora Junior High. Make sure he comes home safe. Black took the photo for the reference and flew off. It shouldn't be too hard to navigate through Mizutofu, Black thought. And if I pick up his energy, it should feel somewhat similar to his mother's. After a few moments of searching, a loud explosion caught the Scion's attention. An energy blast? Black inquired in his head. No, something much more primitive. An angry blonde boy wearing a black Gakurin was attacking another boy with green, curly hair who was also wearing a black Gakurin. The blonde one was noticeably more aggressive, with explosions coming out of his palms. Who said that you were allowed to apply to UA, Deku? The angry blonde kid yelled, knocking Deku to a dumpster can in an alleyway. Kaken, please dash, the Deku kid tried to say, tears flowing in his eyes. He was then blasted by the Kaken kid again. I don't care. Kaken said, feeling absolutely furious. You were a quirkless nobody and somehow we're going to the UA hero course. Black observed the scuffle from above, observing Kaken's combat abilities. Just a raw explosion from his hands, Black observed, knowing he himself could do so much more. He observed the green-haired kid, who looked exactly like the one in his picture. This is the child I have so many high hopes for? He felt disappointed with what he was seeing. Kaken, Deku said, wiping his tears away. You may feel whatever you want about me, but know this. Someone I look up to told me that I could be a hero. So I'm going to UA and that's final. I suppose he has some grit, Black thought, generously adding praise. He then descended on the street near the two boys. Your mother is worried, Izuku Midoriya, Black announced, getting the attention of the two. Who the hell are you? Kaken asked, unexpecting a visitor. UA newly admits, the scion said. You two must be quite capable with your powers. Damn right I am, the blonde boy screamed. Want a piece of me? Sure, why not, Black responded, which seemed to shock Midoriya. Take this. Kaken said, starting to launch a volley of attacks towards Black. It's just a very generic explosion, Black remarked, feeling very underwhelmed by this power. This could serve to be instructive, so perhaps I'll really dial my strength down. Black was covered in an inferno that spanned a small house. This would have caused Kaken to be charged for murder had it not for the Scion's divine durability. I forget that this is the one thing that hasn't changed about me, Black observed, remembering that his durability was still the same from when he fought Goku and Vegeta. Controlling power is very important for the angels, so I suppose this wouldn't be the worst thing ever. Kaken spammed more explosions again, feeling aggravated from this monstrous durability. Damn it, Kaken said. How the hell are you completely unscathed? Black smirked, catching Kaken by the arm and slamming him to the ground, with enough wind pressure to blow all the flames away. My turn, Black said, smiling. Kaken stared back in disbelief. Such power was wielded only by All Might. In fact, he wasn't sure if All Might even had such power. Black tossed the blonde explosion boy in the air and shot a minor energy blast, which still left the boy tattered. I see no reason to carry this fight further, Black said, holding Kaken by the ankles in the air. He descended towards the alleyway again. Why you, the boy said. You're gonna pay for this. No, you will pay for being such an uncouth mortal, Black wanted to say but realized the cost of it. He gave another cocky grin. I'm sure you will, Black said. Come on, Izuku, I promised your mother to be back before nightfall or I'll get arrested. Midoriya is more preferred, he explained. Seeing the stern look on Black's face, Izuku knew he had to agree. Bye, Kaken. Midoriya said. Grab onto my shoulder, kid, Black ordered. Okay, Midoriya said, confused at the man's ultimatum. Placing 2 fingers on his forehead, Black used instant transmission to get both he and Izuku back to the Midoriya residence. HHH what the hell, Inko said, confused at people who just operate into the house. Mom, it's me. Izuku said. Oh, so you were telling the truth, it's Goku, Black said. I was delivering desserts to your mother and she told me about you. Black added a thoughtful-looking smile into the sentence. Izuku, what happened to you? Inko said, concerned for the battered-up boy. It's alright, Mom, the boy reassured. Kaken was just being Kaken again. Oh, that's it, the mother said, annoyed. I'm going to give Mitsuki Bakugo a piece of my mind about her boy. Well actually, Goku kinda took care of that, Izuku said. His power is absolutely incredible. Is it now, Inko said, eyeing Goku Black. Well, thank you, Goku, for looking after my son. It's a pleasure, ma'am, Black said. Enjoy your desserts. With that, Black walked to the door of the Midoriya residence. Oh, just one more thing, Inko said. Yes? Black asked. Next time, if you're gonna teleport, just teleport outside the door. I like my privacy. Apologies. I'll note it next time. With that, Black left the residence. Alright, I'll just go back to Narahata the easy way. Black placed 2 fingers on his forehead and used instant transmission back to Hopper's cafe. Wait, what the hell, Jiro said, shocked at Black, who just returned. You can just warp like that? Yes, I can, Black answered. Why the hell were you not back sooner, dude? Jiro said, amazed that he learned his new coworker still had extra tricks up his sleeve. Still got a bunch of dishes to wash. Alright, fine, Black said, feeling exhausted from the day he had. Despite this fatigue, he could feel something rising up within his body. My power. Black thought. Yes, that's good. From fighting that loud Pomeranian of a child, it seems that I've restored some of my original power. I will need to put it to a test. He washed the rest of the dishes with a devilish grin and without complaints. You're kinda into this, Jiro said, observing Black's facial expressions and the clean plates that were quickly piling up. Good work though. Black wasn't listening, still immersed in his work and thoughts. The day ended with Black getting his first paycheck of 53,000 yen, 52,000 from the 2 40-hour weeks he worked and 1,000 from the extra task he helped to do. Still, despite the delay, you would still return much faster than any of us, Kamayan said. How about you work as both a dishwasher and a delivery person? We'll increase your pay accordingly. Of course, Black said, happy about this promotion. Thank you very much for your generosity. The scion left the cafe and into the basement, having figured out how to clean himself in that space. He entered his room with a smile until he recounted the day. He accepted extra tasks from a mortal, offered another mortal the safety of her offspring, and accepted more responsibilities given from a mortal. All in exchange for mortal currency. Even if he did get a bit more power back, it was not nearly as much as when he fought Goku and Vegeta. Black grew angrier and angrier with these thoughts. How did I let this happen to me? Black muttered. A god should not be attached to such a lowly lifestyle. Changing into his sleep garments, Black laid on his bed, clutching a fist in hand. Something will have to be destroyed. For the past 3 weeks, the scion did not get even a few seconds of sleep. Struggling to manage his schedule between work and his personal life, Black found himself too exhausted to plan for Project Zero Mortals. Although his wage has doubled, the extra deliveries he had to make took a toll on his psyche. Having to work weekends didn't help him much, even if the extra money helped out. Damn it all! Black exclaimed, slamming his head against the wall. He had never imagined that a god such as himself could ever succumb to the weaknesses of mortal life, but here he was, living exactly like one. Each passing day scrubbing dishes and sending desserts to people felt absolutely conflicting to him. On one hand, he was furious that he was practically hired help of the mortals, just wishing for death on each of them. On the other hand, he knew he was not in a position to do anything against them for now, especially with the lack of mortal life and gods in this universe. The sun arose to greet Black for another day. Feeling cranky and agitated, Black begrudgingly brushed his teeth, put on his black t-shirt and jeans as well as his pot era and time ring. These mortals are surely taking a toll on me, Black muttered out loud. Mornin', Goku, Ichiro greeted. Yeah, whatever, Black responded. Whoa. What's the deal, dude? Does it seem like I got any sleep? Ichiro looked at the bags underneath Black's eyes. You know, you could have slept in today, Ichiro said. We have some sudden maintenance to do today that should be finished tomorrow. You got the day off. Black sighed, relieved that he finally had genuine free time for himself. Well, I'll be taking a nice stroll around, I suppose, Black said, leaving the premises of Hopper's Cafe. Charging up, the Scion floated up in the air and flew away. I've been meaning to test that power of mine after that skirmish with Kakin, Black thought, remembering some of his rediscovered power. I ought to find somewhere to test what I can do now. With that, the Scion flew to a forest, hidden away from most people. It was quite picturesque, tall, green trees and grass stretched for miles, and there was a nice mountain scenery nearby. A pity that such beauty is possessed by the filthy mortals, Black thought, enjoying the landscape. Getting back into focus, Black had to test a few things out. The Scion started by firing off into the air, expecting to cause a meteor shower onto himself. The damage was even more catastrophic than the last time as it already wiped out most of the trees. Not good enough, Black observed. This was significantly better than his first attempt, but he still had a long way to go if he wanted to get anywhere close to his original power. Roar. Black turned his head to the direction of that roar. At first, he thought it might have been another Serpentine villain, but then Black detected some more energy. Well, this looks like it could be some fun, Black thought, grinning at the new challenger. Giant brown claws suddenly climbed out from underneath the ground, which then transformed into hands. A gigantic, brown, mountainous humanoid shape with a radio strapped to its chest made its way out of the dirt, unleashing another mighty roar. Everything, the giant bellowed, is for the glory of my master. With that, he slammed the earth with his massive hands. Black was unmoved, though he still put his hands up to protect his eyes from the excess debris. When the dust settled, Black's face distorted, grinning ear to ear as if he were a child going trick-or-treating during Halloween. Well, Black said, seeing a new opponent. I remembered annihilating a planet with a race that looked like your people. That remark didn't seem to matter to the giant, who was only concerned with dealing with the cause of such disturbances. The giant then gave a massive swipe to Black. Although he could have easily withstood it, the battle-hungry Scion decided to play along and purposely accepted the blow. A real shame, Black thought. All this power and it took me having to really power myself down just to even feel something that could hurt. Still, this was easily the most fun he had in a very long time. This giant was certainly no Goku, Vegeta, Zamasu, or even Gawasu, but he was the strongest Black has met in this universe, which seemed to be enough for the Scion. Grabbing onto Black with his right hand, the giant prepared a fist towards the ground, which would have enough pressure to kill most people. Raising his hand high over 100 feet in the air, the giant slammed Black down, following up with a punch from his left. The giant violently assaulted Black, completely feeling unhinged in this battle. The giant just lived to destroy, and by this moment, he completely forgot why he was attacking in the first place. Suddenly, the giant felt some resistance from his fist, unsure what was causing it. So this is all you can do, huh, beast, Black said, surrounded by a purple and red aura. He didn't need to use this technique, but this has been the most instructive battle he has had yet, so the Scion felt free to experiment with some tricks out of Goku's body. With this, he gave a punch towards the giant's hand, causing the behemoth to roar with pain. The giant was surprised at this display of power. There was no way anyone was more power than his master, after all. Readying another fist, he prepared to strike once more until he was hit squarely in the chest. He fell on his back, panting for his breath. Ah, this seems like a handy trick, Black said, enjoying the feeling his body was giving him. Speeding up with the Kaioken and then deactivating it at the moment of impact, giving a hit that is based entirely on speed. I wonder if the converse of this technique can hold too. With that, Black prepared a hit to the giant's head, using the Kaioken at the moment of impact. The giant was actually wincing in pain, tears coming out of his eyes. Well, Black observed, laughing at his newfound techniques. And this is only Kaioken at its weakest. I haven't used other multipliers yet. With that, Goku Black powered up more, trying to aim for new heights with the Kaioken. Despite the power he felt, Black felt the toll quickly creeping on him. Deactivating the aura, Black descended back onto the ground. Well, it's only fitting that a technique made by a god can harm a god, Black said, clutching his left shoulder. This pain will surely make me stronger, and I have you to thank, mortal. The giant was still laid on his back, crying from the pain. Makia. The giant seemed to have a stimulus in response to this voice. Coming from his radio, it was a silky, smooth voice. Endearing to the giant, he crossed his arms around the radio. Master. The giant moaned, feeling comfort at the sound of his master. Before being able to call for his master one more time, the giant closed his eyes and passed out from exhaustion. Black grinned at his progress, feeling his power restored exponentially more. The Kaioken is fun and all, Black thought. But now my real test comes at the hands of a more beautiful transformation. The Scion powered up, with a rainstorm starting to form in the sky. Bolts of lightning struck down upon the land as Black tried to access his beloved signature transformation. Hues of pink formed with his eyes even turning the appropriate color for a moment. Boom! Suddenly, Black's aura exploded and he was brought to his knees. Still not ready, huh? Black thought, this time with a frown. He would have been happy to try his powers out some other time, but for now, he had to give his body some rest from the Kaioken and the Super Saiyan Rose attempt. It was still raining very heavily, so Black used instant transmission back into Hopper's cafe. Hey, Goku, you're back. Jiro said, greeting Black. Gee, your clothes are dirty, what happened? I took a stumble on some stairs, Black lied, who looked completely fine other than some of the giant's dirt that got on his clothes. How's maintenance? Oh, we're almost done, Jiro replied. I want to talk to you for a bit. Jiro walked into a back room and Black followed. A room with a desk, stacks of papers, and hero memorabilia. Black sat in front of Jiro in his office. Hey, you've been great help, man, Jiro said, beaming at the employee. You haven't been here for long, but you've really been the backbone of us all. I just want to say thank you for all that you've done. Oh, Black managed to mutter. He thought that Jiro somehow found out about him, but to his surprise, it was actual praise. Praise to a god, even if Jiro did not know that yet. Black cleared his throat and responded. No problem, Black answered. I'm simply doing my duty to what my goals align with. That last sentence sounded polite but had an extra bit of venom to it. That's great, man, that'll be all from me, Jiro said, smiling. Black walked out of the office, feeling confused but a bit happy with himself. Today actually went well, Black reflected. I managed to reawaken some powers within me, even being able to make some new tricks of my own. And I got praised by Immortal. This is going very smoothly. Black stopped in the main room of the cafe. He was happy because he was praised by Immortal? But it was praise to a deity given by a clearly inferior mortal, which made things much better. Regardless, he was going to have some fun with Goku and Vegeta once he showed them his new techniques. On that note, Black was grimly reminded of his current state of power. I'm gonna be here for a while, am I? Black muttered, grimacing at his own future. What's up, Goku? Kamayan greeted. Oh, hi, Goku replied, not expecting the giant mantis. I'm going back to my room, see you around. With that, Black walked back into his room in the basement. Since he got more money, he bought himself all sorts of books, such as Sun Tzu's Art of War, Oscar Wilde's The Picture of Dorian Gray, and several classic Japanese novels. Black picked up his copy of The Art of War and read it on his bed. In carrying out your operations, give the impression of being sucked into the enemy's plans. Well, that's the goal, Black mentally responded to the book. He spent the entire night reading before getting his first night of decent sleep in a while. The next morning, Black awoke feeling completely refreshed. This was going to be another day spent with his quality. Hey Goku, Kamayan said. Got a batch of deliveries for you. Right, Black thought. He forgot that today was work as usual. Looking at the list of deliveries he had to make, the Scion looked up directions to each address. With the flying, instant transmissions, and talking he had to do, this still took a few hours for him. Let's see, number 103, Black observed on the list of deliveries he had to make, which was pinned in the counter of the very busy cafe spot. Shota Aizawa? Delivered to UA High? Black took the desserts he was to send, charged up, and flew once again. So I'll finally be seeing that UA school in person, huh? In less than 10 minutes, Black arrived at UA, which suddenly reacted by creating a gigantic metal barrier. Although Black was more than capable of destroying the gigantic school, he thought that waiting for some aid would be useful. Excuse me sir, a tall, voluptuous woman with red, triangular glasses wearing a tight, white suit remarked. Are you looking for someone? Yes, I am, the Scion answered, surprised that this could be considered normal wear for someone. I have some desserts for Shota Aizawa from Hopper's Cafe. The woman gave a loud laugh. Oh, that brings me back, the woman would respond. Aizawa used to talk about that place a fair bit back in the day. I think he misses Narahata sometimes, you know. But he's not here, he's on a trip with some students. Black nodded, unsure if he actually got the right place in retrospect. Still wanting to complete his delivery, Black thought of an excuse. Alright, I'll be back when he returns, Black lied. Well, suit yourself, the woman replied. A masked gunslinger walked by. Midnight, the gunslinger said. Could you come over for a bit? Yeah, sure, Snipe, Midnight responded. Must be their hero names, thought Black, feeling that they sounded ridiculous. Walking away until he was out of sight for sure, Black placed 2 fingers on his head and used instant transmission to Aizawa's location. Black appeared in what appeared to be a collection of various environments underneath a white dome. He glanced around and saw a bloody person held tight by a large, muscular bird-brain-looking creature. Even more shocking, he recognized the bloody body. Aizawa? Black called out. Goku, the hero responded, confused as to why and how he was here. So some nobody wants to play hero, huh? Some blue-haired, red-eyed man covered in gray hands said. Fine. Nomu, kill him before Eraser. Black looked at the trio of miscreants in front of him, eyes radiating maliciousness towards them. The black creature looked absolutely Lovecraftian, the man covered with hands looked repulsive, and the weird purple mist person was somehow a mixture of the other two descriptions. Such an ugly group of mortals standing in the presence of a god was bad enough, but to challenge him to battle and disrupt his delivery services made it an unforgivable sin. The enraged scion put down the desserts, took up his battle stance, and prepared to put some of his rediscovered power to the test. Sensing the energy around him, he found that while there was lots of activity around him, as expected, they all paled in comparison to powers that he was more accustomed to. Suddenly, Black's scowl turned closer to annoyed confusion in response to the life energy he detected. Huh, those three are here too? Black muttered, still in his battle stance. He would not have the time to explore those observations at the moment, as the huge, black, bird-brained creature rushed towards the scion, ready to strike. Black Z vanished in front of Nomu, perplexing the creature. Realizing how easy it was to outspeed him, Black dropped his battle stance, crossed his arms, and gave a cocky smirk. So that's all you're capable of, Black said, observing the movements of Nomu. The creature threw a barrage of punches, which the scion danced around with ease. Black Z vanished again and gave Nomu a massive kick, which launched the creature to the surface of the domed ceiling and then ricocheted him back to the ground, a few meters away from the trio of villains and Aizawa. Black gave a snarled smile at the villains. Is that more you have to offer, villains? Black taunted, feeling the fighting ecstasy from his scion anatomy. Impossible, the purple mist exclaimed, having not foreseen this event happening. That creature was designed to defeat All Might. Tamura Shigaraki, what do you suppose Nomu should do? Oh, Kirojiri, if you weren't a warp gate, I'd have turned you to dust, Shigaraki said, scratching his neck aggressively. He's definitely using hacks. No one should be able to fight like that, even if it's All Might. Nomu got back up only to have his left half be completely blown off by a sudden gust of wind. Shigaraki and Kirojiri's eyes widened at the massive damage done to their main juggernaut. So it's supposed to defeat All Might, Black said, still keeping his fist extended from the ranged punch he gave. If this is on par with All Might, the strongest hero out there, would it even be possible for me to regain my original power at this rate? The scion then loosened his stance, entering an existential dilemma. He lowered his head down, staring at his feet, seemingly starstruck. Is there even a point to slaying all mortals if I can't even get a real chance to do so? Goku, watch out! Aizawa shouted, confused at the scion's sudden lack of motivation to fight. Nomu, having fully regenerated, rushed towards Black again, delivering a massive right hook. Although it was an ineffective punch, Black's neck followed the movement stimulated from that punch. Well, let's assess this, Black reasoned. How were my powers returning in the first place? As the scion reminisced about his other fights in this universe, Nomu gave Black a massive body shot punch, knocking Black a few feet in the air. Underneath his gray, wrinkly hand mask, Shigaraki gave a grin. Now we got that cheater, he said, cackling while scratching his neck less aggressively. Black's body experienced a huge volley of punches from the Nomu, each punch managing to knock the scion around without doing any real damage. Back in my usual multiverse, I would just get stronger from fighting powerful adversaries, Black thought, still getting hits from Nomu. Goku and Vegeta's strength pushed me to intense heights, my base form got much more powerful and I even unlocked that exquisite Super Saiyan Rose form. It was much more valuable than the goose chases I had to do against just Trunks alone. Nomu's assault continued, seemingly ravaging the scion's body. The other two villains watched with accomplishment. Tamura Shigaraki, Kirojiri said. I believe that we should be able to exterminate the rest soon. Wonderful, Shigaraki replied. Just wonder when this guy will finally pop from Nomu. Yet, here, it's different, Black continued in his inner monologue. I may not have gotten much power back from the Looney and Clooney duo, but I suppose I did go quite hard against them. Against that Kakin and Giant on the other hand, Black was slammed back into the ground with Nomu punching the scion into a hole in the ground. My powers actually returned against them even though they were so much weaker than even Trunks. Black continued to reason. Is it because I went easy on them? Nomu then flung Black around the ground, which still did no damage apart from tracking debris on his clothes. No, not quite, Black thought, getting to a sensible conclusion. It is somewhat right, as I still need opponents to fight. I could have easily ended all of my enemies' lives on the spot, but I knew what I needed to survive. Besides, I wouldn't have wanted to test the Kaioken out against the giant. Even though I still could have easily defeated him in my base form, I still put the extra effort to use the Kaioken, even if my attacks were still intentionally made to not kill during that bout. Nomu clenched both his hands together, raising them in the air. A mix of going easy and trying? Black wondered. No, still not quite, but it's closer. The sudden changes to his fighting capabilities and training regimen was still very hard to wrap his mind on. Scion philosophy was most certainly not the reason, especially as Black himself wasn't even a natural one. Still, fundamentals should apply no matter the universe. Who is Goku Black? The divine Scion imposter internally questioned. I started Project Zero Mortals to cleanse the multiverse of the filth that plagues it. I am a god who seeks to preserve justice and righteousness to all of reality. As the Nomu began to slam towards the ground, Black blocked the massive blow with his middle finger, stunning the surrounding witnesses. It makes sense now, Black continued to think, approaching the existential answer he sought. Being a god living amongst mortals could never make me ever more angry. This anger, hate, and rage was transferred to all the combatants I fought, empowering me despite the extremely low amounts of power. Rage fueled my movements, hate gave me the strength I needed, and anger brought me my body's salvation. Black then flicked his wrist, sending the creature flying extremely high. The scion smiled, feeling at peace with the answer he found. I thank you, creature, Black said, as the Nomo reached terminal velocity before descending down to the ground. I should return the favor now. The scion got into a stance with his hands brought back on his torso. An orb of dark purple light started to be produced from his hands. Ka dash. How the hell did that happen? Shigaraki said, desperate to find the truth. Me dash. Did we miscalculate Nomu's strength? Kurojiri assessed, still very confused as to the sudden disadvantage. Ha dash. Holy heck, we're saved, a purple ball-head child excitedly said, clutching onto a girl in green next to him in the pond adjacent to the fight. Me dash. Mineta, please stop, the girl said, drowning the purple ball child. And what happened to us having to hide? Ha-iya. A giant dark purple beam shot out from the hands of Goku Black, pushing Nomu away from the ground, even crashing through the ceiling, causing a massive explosion. Within seconds, Nomu got disintegrated by the scion. Goku Black stood from his spot, still in Kamehameha position, madly laughing with his new resolve. His reflection was more than right, anger, hate, and rage served to be better friends than even Zamasu could ever have been. Each move he made that was infected with fury would empower him, helping him gain power even faster than his original pace. This held even truer against the creature he just murdered, feeling the newly regained power coursing through each cell in his body. He smiled, having felt the strongest he has ever been in this realm. In a universe full of small bits of pyrite, he was the one gold bar in the midst of it. And Nomu was dash. Kurojiri choked up. He's gone. Shigaraki screamed, messing up his hair. I don't know what his deal is, but I'm ending him now. No, Tamura, the portal man advised. If he took such a beating to receive no injuries and defeated Nomu so easily, we don't stand even the slightest chance. Our best bet is to retreat at the moment. Shigaraki scratched his neck even more aggressively. Messing his hair around, he seemed to have gotten to a conclusion. Fine, we're leaving, Shigaraki said as he got blanketed by Kurojiri's warp gate. Another time, UA. His eyes gave a deathly stare towards Black. As the villains left, Black looked at the three children hiding by the pond. He knew they were there the whole time but prioritized the villains above them. Seeing a familiar face, Black gave a greeting in his signature glare. Ah, Midoriya, Black greeted. So here you are. Hi Goku, Midoriya replied to the surprise of the two other kids next to him. So what are you doing here in the USJ? Your teacher ordered some food from the cafe, Black answered. I should probably attend to him. Black Z vanished towards Aizawa, still lying on the ground, bruised and bloodied up. A shame I'll have to do this, but I need him to be as strong as possible for now, Black thought, extending his hand to Aizawa's face. In a golden flash of light, the eraser hero felt all the pain go away. Even though all his wounds and injuries were still present, he had more than enough strength to stand up and walk or even run if he wanted. Well, that was useful, Aizawa said in his usual pessimistic tone as he stood up. You and I are going to have to talk after all the other villains are dealt with here. I'll need to keep you surveyed under my watch. Fine, Black reluctantly agreed. Here are your desserts by the way. I don't want them anymore, Aizawa responded. They're yours to keep. I'll take them. Mineta said, drooling. Black rolled his eyes and tossed them over to the small child, who got out of the water with the others and bent down on his knees. Oh, sweet Tsuyu, the child began to muse. Would you have the pleasure of enjoying these cakes in the swamp with me? At the sound of this, Tsuyu extended her tongue and smacked Mineta's left cheek. Well, I tried, Mineta commented. Heh, Black chucked, giving an actual friendly smile. But that fighting prowess was incredible, Tsuyu remarked to Black. Goku, was it? What kind of quirk training did you do to get to that level? Oh, I know. Midoriya excitedly butted in. He has some weird quirk that's a mix of super strength and energy manipulation and dash. Midoriya droned on for what seemed like forever. Like mother like son, I suppose, Black thought, actually feeling amused by hearing this. It is adorable to hear mortals talk about divine powers as if they understand it. He has a keen eye for this sort of thing. Black mentally paused, feeling conflicted. On the one hand, he actually felt like he was enjoying a conversation with mortals. On the other hand, he required raw hatred to gain the strength he once had. I suppose that someone would have to be the last to die, Black reasoned, justifying their company with him. Suddenly, the door of the USJ slammed open. Everyone turned to see who opened it with such force. Him, Black observed, recognizing the figure that just entered very well. The figure was a muscular behemoth with blonde hair that perked up, sunken eyes, and tan skin. Only this time, instead of his signature smile, it was traded with a rare frown. Fear not, students, the voice bellowed. Black gazed at the man with utmost intensity. For I am here. All Might's presence broke the darkness within the USJ, unleashing an aura of hope and safety towards the students. Black made a note of how the hero seemed to command the attention upon entry almost immediately. It was as if All Might was a god himself. The legendary hero proceeded to rip his tie, making an enraged expression through gritted teeth, readying himself to save his students. In a flash of an eye, All Might descended from the USJ entrance stairs and defeated a small group of villains on his own immediately. I suppose he can hold his own a bit, Black mentally noted. There was something off about this hero though. Even though All Might was clearly the most powerful person in the room sans the Scion, upon detecting his energy, it felt like the pro was dying slowly. For someone of such a high status, this feeling of waning strength was the last thing that Black expected to sense from the top hero. I'll save my questions about how you got in here for now, Aizawa addressed to Black, bloodied but able to move properly. Stay by my side for now, Midoriya, Azui, Mineta, and Goku. We don't know how many other villains there are, but Mr. Aizawa, Mineta said, in shock that someone so injured can actually move as if nothing happened. Don't you think you should take it easy and give yourself some slack for now? Absolutely not, Aizawa replied with ferocious conviction. A pro has to watch out for anything that happens. Once a goal has been set, I'll work till my last breath to achieve it. The short purple ball child looked in a sense of feared awe. Mr. Aizawa, Goku can also warp like that villain, Midoriya suggested. Wouldn't it be possible if we can use his abilities to find where the rest of our classmates are? A rational suggestion, Aizawa complied. Goku, do you think you can do that? Wouldn't be the hardest thing ever, Black responded, feeling an odd sense of excitement at helping these mortals. Grab onto me though or else this won't work. The hero and heroes in training got a hold of Black with Mineta clutching Black's arm. Placing 2 fingers on his forehead, Black used instant transmission away from the shipwreck zone. Knowing one familiar energy, the 5 were teleported in front of a canyon-looking area in front of an electric villain holding up a dorky kid with yellow hair and a black jacket. Wait, Mr. Aizawa, Midoriya, Azui, and Mineta, a girl with earlobes that looked like long-eared jacks questioned, surprised that so many people just appeared in front of her. Noticing a mysterious man who seemed to have caused this teleportation, the girl further inquired about this. And who's that? This is Goku, Azui said. And call me Tsuyu, Jiro, Goku, a tall girl with spiky hair said, eyes widening. Black remembered this voice, for it was her. Momo Yaoyorozu, was it? Black replied, surprised that she was wearing almost nothing for her hero costume. The tea set works quite well to this day. No time to be sidelined, Aizawa called. This is an actual hostage situation here. Oh, so you thought it would be funny to call reinforcements, huh? The villain remarked, holding the dorky kid in one hand and electricity with another. Guess I'm gonna have to HUH? Black rushed towards the villain, making him lose his grip, freeing the kid. The Scion then held the villain by the throat, much to his fear. Now answer me, Morat, villain, the Scion said, readying a violent fierce god slicer with his right hand. Which would you prefer, having the lights choked out of you or being diced into a nice entree item? Goku, Midoriya muttered, horrified at such brutality along with his classmates. The villain in Black's hand let a stream of tears out. The way this was pacing, it seemed like All Might being here would ironically save him as well. That's enough, Aizawa called to Black, using his erasure quirk. The Scion turned his head to the hero, unsure as to what was wrong. What the hell do you think you're doing? Black questioned, still clutching the villain with the violent fierce god slicer pointed towards his neck. As heroes, this behavior is far beneath us, Aizawa said, quirk still activated. This is a violation of various ethical codes not to be taken lightly, so please cooperate with us. A life, hero, or villain is still very valuable. Everyone deserves to be served judgment rationally, even if it conflicts with our own core beliefs. It is up to us to use our powers responsibly so that society can function with logical decisions. While saying all of this, the veteran pro noticed that while the villain couldn't use his quirk at all, Black's powers were still activated despite being in the line of sight of erasure. This puzzled the hero, who was internally trying to think of a reason as to why this was happening. Black remembered arguing with Zamasu with his abuse of power, in which the Scion finally admitted his faults to himself. Had he been more responsible with power, he wouldn't have needed to be stranded in a different reality altogether. He wouldn't have needed to have most of his power locked away from him. He wouldn't have needed to do Project Zero Mortals from the ground up again. Having to admit such a huge fault with himself made himself feel furious yet melancholy. Deactivating the violent fierce god slicer, Black lightly threw the villain to the ground, who still landed bruised, bloodied, and tattered up, still crying. The Scion looked back to the group of hero students, completely stunned by the scene they had just witnessed. Well, we got Kaminari back, I suppose, Jiro said, more shaken from Black's assault on the villain than the villain himself. How'd you all find us anyway? Goku can warp apparently, Azui answered. Apparently Mr. Aizawa ordered some food and I guess Goku was too eager with his job. Hey, shut it. Aizawa said out of minor embarrassment while the hero students laughed about it. As he used what was left of his binding cloth on the villain, he then suddenly jerked his face back to seriousness. How could I forget? Aizawa muttered, annoyed at missing such a key detail. Goku, there's a hero named 13 here, who I believe might be seriously wounded. Do you think you can find her? Seriously wounded, huh? Black replied, trying to think of someone who could match that description amongst the extremely low life energies he sensed. There were seemingly people who were injured at least, most likely villains. Then there was All Might, whose energy was the most massive but felt like he was going to be out of steam soon. Lastly, there was a very faint energy that felt like the person just took a massive injury. Alright, I think I found her, the Scion said. Grab a hold of me. The group held onto Black, which was getting more awkward as more people touched him. Using instant transmission again, the group landed on the base of the USJ stairs with a short girl in a pink costume, a masked yellow muscular man, a pink girl with horns on her head, a boy with a plain face but weird elbows, a masked muscular kid with many arms, and an astronaut with a horrifically torn back. Ha! You guys, the astronaut said, surprised so many people just appeared at once. 13, you're still alive, Aizawa said, noting the horrific state of his comrade. Goku, you think you can heal her as you did with me? Goku reached his hand out to 13's face. In another flash of gold light, 13 felt more energized, although not to the degree that Aizawa was able to. Gee, thanks for the assist. 13 replied in a less strained voice. I don't think I'll be of much help here still. She pointed towards the massive gap from her back. That's alright, Aizawa said. I'm leaving these 6 kids along with this villain in your custody. Goku and I are going to search for the others. Wait, you're leaving us in that state? The girl with the pink costume questioned. You can use some rest too, Mr. Aizawa. Appreciate the concern, Uraraka, but I'm not as injured, Aizawa replied. Just stay here and you'll be fine. The Erasure hero held onto Black once more, teleporting to the places of various villains and other students. Along the way, the Scion fought other minor villains with absolute ease while meeting other students such as a man with a tail, a rocky-looking kid who was quiet, a dark bird person with a purple creature exuding from him, a flamboyant laser boy, and a girl who was invisible after Black deduced her from energy sensing. What an absolute circus of a mortal gathering this is, Black thought, flabbergasted that such an ugly gathering of mortals could happen before him. Using his rage and fury, Black continued to easily overpower any villains he encountered, while unlocking his former strength along the way. Cackling with each movement he made, he never thought that saving mortal life would stimulate so much fun in his Scion body. Transporting the students back to the USJ stairs with various beaten villains too weak to even lift a finger, Aizawa made a headcount of everyone. So that's almost everyone, he observed. Ida has gone to get help, even though we surprisingly got it covered already on our own, so that leaves us with Todoroki, Kirishima, and Bakugo. Bakugo, Black muttered. He recalled Inko Midoriya saying something about Natsuki Bakugo and her boy. Was this Kaken Bakugo? Well, guess there aren't many options for us left now, Black said, preparing instant transmission with Aizawa again. Upon arriving, he was surprised with how slippery the ground was. Ice? Aizawa observed, seeing that practically every villain was frozen. Todoroki. Come out here. A kid with blonde, spiky hair and grenade gauntlets came out. If he wasn't furious before, he certainly was upon looking at the man next to his teacher. You! Bakugo screamed. I knew that you were trouble when I first you. You'll die here. Bakugo, chill out, a red-haired kid with a very exposed costume said. A torrent of ice came towards Aizawa and Black. With his reflexes, Black was able to blast the incoming ice away. They must think you're one of the villains, Aizawa stated, surprised at this irrational behavior. Howitzer Blitz! Bakugo roared, setting off a massive explosion in front of Black that thawed the surrounding ice. This freed the villains, who were trying to make an escape. Bakugo, look what you did, the red-haired kid said. Now the villains are back. Todoroki, I think you're gonna be needed here again. None needed, Aizawa said. Behind them, 2 figures were standing beside each other amongst the redefeated villains. Goku Black found himself staring up at the muscular giant, All Might himself. Well, All Might said. I wasn't expecting to get some assistance like this. All Might, Black said. It's really interesting to meet you in the flesh. Happy to meet a fan, the hero replied. But for now, fists first, autographs later. Considering how injured they already are, you would be cutting very close to brushing with ethical laws on treatment of villains, Aizawa said, repeating his point form before. It would be quite a PR disaster if you did breach them. All Might nervously crouched down, knowing that his comrade was as rational as always. Well, you have a point, I suppose. I have returned, huh? A voice bellowed out. A kid with glasses and armor backed up by a troop of pro-heroes entered, startled by what they saw. Practically their entire class was there with all of the remaining villains apprehended. Did they really need our help? A man with red blood tubes and a red costume said, observing the state of each of the villains. We did it first, Vlad King 13 answered. Then Aizawa and this man showed up. The white animal on Vlad King's shoulder noted this. Well, then I think we have to see who this mystery man is, the animal said. Suddenly, a group of people appeared before the heroes and apprehended villains. All Might, 3 students, Aizawa, and Black all returned with the rest of the apprehended villains. Eshoda, a blonde man with a mic underneath him said. Shouldn't you be on the bleachers? Shut up, Aizawa replied, annoyed at his former classmate, now co-worker. We'll still need medical assistance as well as an inspection of the USJ pronto. The heroes seemed to agree and split up to search for any remaining villains or signs of danger that still lingered. Some of them were helping to escort the villains out in groups. Black felt a few eyes on him, especially from the woman and gunslinger by UA's main entrance from before. Go on without me. All Might called out. I'll be helping with the search. The class, Aizawa, 13, and Black walked out of the USJ. Suddenly, smoke seemed to leak out of All Might, but by the time they left the door, he was too surrounded by it for anyone to make a figure. Don't worry, Class A, 13 said, noticing some students looking at the smoke behind them. Smoke like this happens from time to time, but I'll spare you of the details. Sensing All Might's energy, Black noticed it got exponentially weaker. His entire career is based on a time transformation? Black thought, surprised someone could pull off being a legendary hero like that. This base form is actually pathetic. They walked out and were greeted by a warm sun's embrace. After such a hard day, it was really rewarding to see such a beautiful landscape. After stepping out, Black was berated by an army of teenagers trying to learn about him. Wow, you're cute and strong, the pink-skinned girl said. How'd you find us? Your darkness knows no bounds, the bird kid said. Dark Shadow and I are grateful for your service this time. I'll kill you. Bakugo yelled with his ever-loving manners. The Scion did not know how to answer the energetic students, having not foreseen this response. He had managed to learn everyone's names and their quirks though, so it wasn't a total waste of time. Goku! Aizawa called out, escorting villains to the police. There was an officer in a tan trench coat next to him as well as a familiar cat officer. Black Z vanished to Aizawa and the officers, managing to avoid the sea of students. The police can take things from here, the cat officer said, not looking Black in the eye. Thank you for your work, Eraser. Yes, indeed, the man in the trench coat said, smiling. Goku, was it? I'm Naomasa Tsukachi, a detective for the police force around here. We were interested in arranging a conversation with you. Black contemplated his decision. Unable to assess any alternatives, Black tried to respond with a straight face. Yes, officer, Black said, bowing to him. I'll be happy to oblige. The ride from the USJ to the police station took about an hour, passing by Mizutofu in the sunset. Black was sitting in the passenger seat of a police car with the cat officer as the driver and Tsukachi next to his co-worker. Although these two stood no fighting chance even if they managed a fusion via the pod era, the Scion knew full well that he couldn't use brute force to tear his way out of this situation yet. Even though his powers have returned to planetary levels of destruction, knowing how limited mortal life in this universe is, he still needed Earth's inhabitants to regain his power. Although none of these quirks could beat Black in a head-on fight, miscellaneous abilities such as Momo Yaoyorozu could prove to be quite a bother. Understanding the broad range of quirks possible, Black guessed that the detective must have a sort of lie detector quirk. When they got to the station, Black followed the police officers into the building, where he was placed into a well-lit room with lightly colored walls and a blue table. The Scion sat on one side and the detective and cat officer sat in front of him. Thank you for meeting with us on such short notice, Tsukachi said. This officer besides me is Sansa Tamakawa, who informed me that he has had a history with you prior to the USJ. He will be taking notes and assisting me with this interview. Black looked back, stern but blank. This interview could prove to be the end of Project Zero Mortals if he wasn't careful. So tell us, Goku, the detective began to say. As our information has it, you are currently employed by Hopper's Cafe in East Narahata. Why did you make your way towards Mizutofu so suddenly while on your job? An interview? Black thought, having mixed feelings about the way this was being conducted. No, this is an interrogation. This seems to be a very generic question, so I think I can tell the truth pretty comfortably. I was on my job doing some deliveries when I saw that Shota Aizawa wanted his desserts to be delivered, Black said. I aim to perform my tasks to perfection, so I always deliver as promptly as I can. The detective seemed to be neutral at this answer as nothing in Black's speech indicated something false. That is good, Officer Sansa said. However, Midnight, the woman you were talking to before going to the USJ, informed us that you were going to wait instead of directly going to the USJ itself. What is your rationale for the change of mind? Black took a moment to think and tried to choose his words very carefully. The full truth would make him seem like a power-hungry brute, which could cause some problems. He would have to say something ambiguous but still technically true. I wanted to see Aizawa, Black explained. Talking to him when he visited Hoppers a few weeks back made an impression on me, so I went a bit overboard, although I did not know the grave state he and his class were in. I do take great pride in my work. He said the last sentence with an especially fiery conviction. The officers continued taking notes with the detective looking a bit puzzled but unable to find any real fault in the Scion's words. All right, Tsukachi said. We can take this as fact for now. However, UA High is very well guarded, USJ included. Although there is indisputable evidence to suggest that you helped Class 1A out of their predicament, how were you able to infiltrate the facility in the first place? Aizawa informed us that you can warp as well. The Scion remembered what the cat officer said about quirk use a while back. How could I forget that quirk usage for non-heroes is actually a problem here? Granted, his powers do not classify as a quirk, but it would be an extreme discussion that could bring about the end of Project Zero Mortals just from incarceration. I just move very fast, Black said. My life has always been very intense in my physical regiment. There was no quirk involved. The officers continued taking notes with Tsukachi making a forced straight face. This was incredibly strange. None of what Black said made any sense, yet his quirk couldn't detect a single falsehood. Interesting, the detective said. In that case, what is your quirk? Black's head started to form sweat droplets. Although he also possessed superhuman abilities, none of his powers are technically quirks, just an extension of his natural body. There was indisputable evidence of his energy attacks, but that could be what saves him for this question. I have incredible manipulation over life energy, Black explained, careful not to mention the word quirk. He then formed a multitude of energy balls and energy blades to show them that he did have a quirk. The officers took notes again. This time, the detective looked visibly confused. Although this was very clearly a quirk, for some reason, his intuition told him Black was still hiding a few things. He concluded having a full quirk rundown would be a waste of his time, so he moved on with the questions. Alright, thank you for your answers to these questions, the detective remarked. Now, about the villains. There was an army of villains, which you helped defeat. Were you able to see anyone or anything that resembled a leader of theirs? Yes, there is, Black said with absolute confidence. He then recounted his initial fight with Nomu to the officers, droning in a furious tirade. Such uncouth mortals are absolutely unsightly. Black yelled out. I had to do what I did to purify my sight. Pardon, the officer asked, trying to hide being intimidated. The word mortals rang out very clearly amidst the sea of details. Well, are they not? The scion asked, realizing how close he was to blowing his cover. The officers looked over their notes and analyzed them. Well, I think this will do for now, the detective said. Thank you for your time. You may return to Narahata now. Black nodded, stood from his chair, and bowed. He promptly walked out the door and out of the police station. So what do you think of this guy? Sansa asked. There's something very odd about Goku, Tsukachi replied, reading the notes they just took. A lot of what he said didn't seem to add up, but there was no falsehood said. Is it possible he anticipated your quirk and deliberately prepared ambiguous phrasing? The cat officer asked, trying to figure out this problem. Could be, the detective replied. Although he and his quirk served his position extremely well, it was not exactly foolproof. We'll get more information about Goku when Aizawa heals up. For now, I think we should tell him to keep watch over Goku. But I think the most concerning thing he said was the line about uncouth mortals. That was pure truth and said with such raw, burning hatred. I agree, Sansa replied. That line was most concerning, but we will need more information from Aizawa and All Might before we can really draw a conclusion. Ah, speak of the devil, Tsukachi said. I'm supposed to visit All Might in the UA infirmary. I should get going. The two waved their farewells and the detective left the interrogation room with a new motivation. Goku, the detective thought. I'll get to the bottom of you eventually. Business was extremely busy for Hopper's Cafe even in the evening hours. Although activity was booming inside the cafe, Jiro and Ichiro Hata received many angry calls in their office regarding the deliveries that were supposed to have been promised much earlier. Damn it, where is Goku? Kamayan said, trying to contact the scion. I have no idea. Jiro replied. He never does this. Come to think of it, does he even have a phone? Ichiro asked. The trio stared blankly at each other, then collapsed from such an oversight. Crap, he doesn't have one. What do we do? Jiro asked, overwhelmed. As the trio lost hope, Black reappeared before the three. Ah, sorry for the wait, Black said. Aizawa was in a pickle. Goku! Kamayan screamed. Where the hell were you? It should be on the news later, Black said. I suggest that you pay him a visit while he's still recovering. Ichiro turned on the TV in his office, greeted by the news. Our top story today, a major villain attack on UA has been thwarted by the Brave Class 1A and the pro heroes there, All Might included. However, there is talk that there was one vigilante who assisted the heroes in putting the attack to a halt. So that's why, Jiro said. Vigilantes brings me back to the old days, remember? Yes, I do, the giant mantis said, feeling cold memories about his operation to become an instant villain. That is why I don't do Trigger anymore. We had to make a ton of excuses about the deliveries today, Ichiro said. Though it's partially on our end as we never thought to consider that you don't have a phone, or any electronics for that matter. This is coming out of your pay, but we'll be buying you a phone and a laptop. Isn't that more expensive than his original salary? Kamayan said, holding up the budget book. Okay, true, but this'll pay itself off in the long run, Ichiro replied. Mortals do seem to use their devices a lot, Black thought, trying to make sense of this deal. I suppose this is an acceptable offer. Thank you for the gracious offer, Ichiro, Black said. Just make sure you make up for the deliveries tomorrow. Ichiro said. There's also some dishes that need to be cleaned, so you'll need to attend to that. The scion walked out of the office and into his kitchen sink, where he started scrubbing dishes. That Goku sure is an oddball, Kamayan observed. Yeah, but he does good work, Jiro said. He multiplied our usual delivery output by 720%. There'll be some bad days I suppose, but the work done is still excellent. The trio accepted the predicament for what it is and then continued to do their usual work in the office. In the middle of an empty bar, a dark, purple portal opened up from the ground. From there, a skinny man with various hands attached to his body and face crawled out, kneeling on his knees. I've failed you, master, Tamura Shigaraki lamented. Nomu couldn't even get the chance to see All Might. What? A gruff voice said from a control tablet attached to the bar. How so? There was a man, Kurojiri explained. He was wearing dark clothes and spiky hair. His power felt incredibly unreal. That cheater literally just one-shot Nomu. Shigaraki yelled. How could anything stand up to All Might if they can die so easily? Nomu is what? The same gruff voice replied. Now, a more calm voice said from the tablet. I wouldn't lose too much hope yet, Tamura. We still have plenty of more chances. We will still need you to destroy Hero Society for what it is. I hope you understand. I do, Shigaraki replied, still very agitated by the recent events. Good, the calm voice said. In that case, we shall talk again some other time. The call stopped on the tablet, leaving Tamura Shigaraki in a fit of rage. He punched the table multiple times, chipping off a piece of wood. So, what are we to do about this man he talked about? The gruff voice man said, watching Shigaraki from afar through cameras in the bar. I think I have an idea of who this could be, the calm voice man replied. Didn't Gigantomachia get knocked down quite easily recently? If it's power that is not all might, then I'm willing to wager that the man in the USJ and the man who defeated Gigantomachia are, in fact, the same. Well, the information should come out soon on the news anyway, the gruff voice said. Yes, it will, the calm voice said. You better fix me up quick, doctor. I may have found an alternative quirk if my pursuit of one for all ends up being too bothersome. This was for today. On 200 likes part 2 will be uploaded. Meanwhile you guys can watch this video.